Welcome to Wellington's Y Zone, a podcast dedicated to curate weekly sports conversations, be a constant sports hub for content and interview game changers from the community and the world. Back with another episode and an interview, a life lesson segment interview. We've been doing these since the start of the podcast, and I haven't been doing one in a while. And I told the listeners that I would be bringing a special guest back. I am joined by Christian Bayliss, one of our guests for tonight, the nonprofit, a nonprofit organizer for youth in the city. Thank you so much for being on.
I'm so excited to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And we kind of got in contact, I think, earlier last year. Before I even get into the interview, how did you find out about me? And then we got in contact about something that I did last December.
Yeah, well, a couple of things. I was on social media and I saw you popped up, one of your songs popped up, and I was
All right.
like, "Oh, like this is pretty awesome. Like, who is this guy?" And so yeah, just from like I kind of like went and like I was like looking at some of your songs because working with a lot of youth, like we're always like looking for, just positive like male role models. And so I was like, oh, like what does he do? Like he's into music. We have kids who are into music. And then I saw you were into sports and I was like, oh, like we have like kind of like this sports angle within the
Yeah.
organization. Like this could be super great. So yeah, that's kind of how we connected. I reached out to you and from there we've been connected.
Absolutely. And it was like it was such a great event, especially this back in December, being around those kids, being around the energy. Like even the game, I was able to be a scorekeeper. Like guys, I was able to be a
Yeah.
scorekeeper. I was so happy. I was like, I've always wanted to do this, and they're competitive. Those kids are competitive when,
Yes.
when when they really get into it. But I wanted to start off with when did you first join your nonprofit organization? Like, what was kind of like the genesis of this process for you?
Yeah, so I was a youth pastor for many years. I was in the church for a while and did youth ministry. And God had really put on my heart to start my own organization. I didn't know what that was going to look like. I didn't know what the blueprint was. And after just having like several conversations with just amazing leaders in my life
Mhm.
back in 2018, they were like, it's time. Like it's time to do this.
To do
Like
it,
you
yeah.
have this dream in your heart and so yeah, so that's kind of where the start of it was in 2018.
Wow, that's really awesome. And kind of like one thing I always ask people that are on these interviews is just kind of like what's their main motivation behind what they do, and also just when you're helping the youth, like I feel as though one of the biggest things in today is to help the next generation because we have so many capabilities, so much access, like it's the information overload era. Like we have so much access, but it's like how are we actually using it? Are like, do we just have it at our fingertips, or are we going to actually use it the right way? But kind of like, what was your main motivation for helping the youth and like what you do?
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of goes back a lot to like I was a youth when I was a youth, I had a lot of leaders who were in my life.
Hmm.
And so like I was raised in a single parent household and so there were times like my mom needed that extra like support, needed like that extra help and there was always like good leaders and coaches that were in my life that really like poured into me. And so as I got older and I like graduated from seminary and things of that nature, like I really always have had that passion, but I was like, I want to make this happen. Like I want to create safe spaces for youth to develop, to grow, to be led, and to be poured into, and to really become their best selves. And so, yeah, that's been my motivator, and that's so much of the heartbeat of what we do as an organization.
That's awesome because that's interesting that you say that. Like growing up, like certain things that they're going through. Like how much is that a relator? Like, is there ever a time like you see a certain kid and you're like, I see myself in them. Like I can see like how I was like at that age.
Oh yeah, like all the time. Like, and it's so interesting because like it's almost like looking in a mirror. Like you're
Yeah.
like, oh, and then you like but you also have like the ingredients of like how they can get out of the situation. And you're like, if you do it this way, like it would really help you.
Yeah.
But then it's also like a part of it that's like they have to kind of go through their own journey. So it's kind of like this constant battle. But yeah, like there's definitely a lot of youth that I see that are going through very similar things that I've gone through and struggled with and overcome, which is amazing to be able to see. But even like our team, like a lot of our team and the stories of our team, we see so much in the lives of the students that we get to serve. So yeah, so it's really cool just to kind of like see that and see like that restoration that does take place in kids' lives, which
Yeah.
is really cool.
That's awesome. Another question I wanted to get to is kind of like how difficult is outreach nowadays with this generation in particular? Like, are there, I know, I'm assuming there's times where you're like, it's not as easy. It can be difficult. There's kind of like a push and pull. Are there like certain moments where you're just like, it's just not budging? Like there, certain kids are just not budging. It's just not as easy to get through to them and just kind of like be able to communicate your message and just like try to get them on board for what you're trying to do.
Yeah, so I would say like it can be really difficult. It can be difficult for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
I think that it could be difficult, one, like if it's an environment or a culture that maybe you're not used to, like as someone who's a leader, like if you're like, hey, I'm not really used to that culture that this kid is coming from, or some
Mhm.
of the challenges that they're facing, especially like if like there's certain things that are going on in their home life that you're like, I have no experience in that.
Yeah.
Sometimes that can be challenging because kids are like looking for relatability. And so sometimes they're looking at people and they're like, you don't know my struggle. Like, you don't know what it's like to have parents who are doing X, Y, and Z. Like, and so sometimes that can create the difficulty. Additionally, like, I would say a really difficult generation to reach right now would be Gen Alpha.
Mhm.
And a big part of that is because they are completely and solely like all digital, that they are growing up in that age, and
Yeah.
the age of AI and all of these things that like they could probably create a better mentor than what you could be, like
Yeah.
that's kind
It's
of like how
generated.
yeah, it's like it might be a robot with no
Yeah.
heart, but like they really could. And so it can be sometimes challenging in that way of like helping them understand the why, like why is this beneficial for them and how is this going to help them. And there's so much like about their future that is like really like unknown. Like for us growing up, like we saw our parents and we were able to see like kind of at least some of the steps of kind of what life would look like. For
Yeah.
them, they're because they're growing up in such like a digital age, and like a lot of their parents did not grow up that way. They don't know we could have a bunch of robots walking around here in the next 10 years. Like, I mean, we
Yeah.
already have started seeing that.
That's,
So
I was
it's
about to say,
like,
like, we're kind of seeing some of that now. We
yeah.
got the
So
cyber
it's just like,
trucks, like all
yeah,
the.
so it's so different. Like getting a job, like it's like between you and a robot right now. Like
Yeah.
it's just really different for them. And so sometimes I feel like that can create some challenge. But I think too is like when you see those challenges, it's so important to like, okay, so how can I educate myself? Like if the digital age is like where they're at and like technology is where they're at, like
Mhm.
let's use that. Like we use a lot of that within our organization. Like let's use the digital age. Like let's do like a video game night. Let's, hop on TikTok and do stuff like things of
Yeah.
that nature to like meet them where they are and what is actually grabbing them.
Absolutely. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. And now we're getting to the second half of this life lessons interview. And another question I wanted to get to is like the team aspect. Like, how important is the team that you have, and kind of like what's the key ingredient to have chemistry for a nonprofit organization?
So, our team is a team that's majority of our team has been with us for probably the last like 4 years.
Okay.
So we have a very like close knit team. We know each other very well. And so one of the key things is like we really prioritize like knowing our personality types, knowing each other's personality types, and also we've done a lot of like personality types and different quizzes and stuff. But
Oh, so you guys have done
also,
personality tests? You done your first
yes,
okay.
yes,
How
yes.
many
Like
how many introverts and extroverts are in the group? Is it like
that's a great
I
question.
gotta ask. Gotta ask.
Yeah, so majority of us are introverts. We have like
Okay.
one extrovert out of the whole team. And there's
Wow.
7 of us. So yeah, that it's very
Okay.
interesting. It's very interesting. Like when we go on like a retreat, like a work retreat, it's like the quietest retreat, because we're a
Everybody's just
lot of us are
scrolling.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, but yeah, so like because we've worked together a lot, like, and we've done like a lot of like team building and really knowing each other's giftings and things of that nature. Like I feel like that's so important because as a team, like you have to know the people you work with. Like you got
Sure.
to know what their strengths are, their weaknesses are. Like you need to be able to recognize like they're super overwhelmed right now and like like I need to step in, I need to help them. Like because
Yeah.
they're super overwhelmed. They have a lot going on. We've as a team have experienced grief together. We've experienced
Mhm.
loss and like had to like where one person experienced grief and like the rest of the team has to step up. Like we've had to go through some of like those like life hard challenging moments together.
Yeah.
And so that's also I feel like made us really strong. As far as like the ingredients and even talking about the chemistry, like yes, it's important to know each other, but one of the things too for us is like we are really like a family in a lot of ways, and even that carries on throughout our organization. Like a
Mhm.
lot of the kids that we do serve do come from broken families, whether it's parents divorce, being raised in foster care, being raised by grandparents, like single parent homes, like so a lot of the kids that we serve are desperately looking for like what does healthy family look like
Mm.
and what can that look like. And so we have really created a culture of what does family look like, what does it look like for your brother to get on your nerves but you
Yeah.
still know how to like keep your character and keep your composure, you know, like how do you have difficult conversations without attacking people's character, like things of that nature. Like we really demonstrate that from the top so that and it flows down through our volunteers, through our students, to be able to create that type of family culture.
Absolutely. That's awesome. In terms of just role models, people that you hear about that these kids look up to the most, are there any like people, is it whether it's artists or like content creators, like what do you see that they like gravitate to in terms of like people that they talk about, people that they look up online, like who do you hear about or the type of people you hear about the most?
Yeah, so a lot of it is definitely like artist or athlete. So of course you've got the, you know, LeBron James, you've got Lil Uzi Vert, you got, you know, you got Cardi B
Yeah, yeah.
and you know, so like those are like pretty much anyone that's like headliners.
Oh yeah.
Those are people that they're like they gravitate to and they take a lot of like for instance, we do a lesson with our kids where we do talk about that and talk about like who are characters, who are people like you look up to, like who has a positive character, who has a negative character.
Mhm.
And all the times it's like either athletes or music artists. Sometimes you might get a YouTuber that they'll, you know, yell out, but
Yeah.
majority of the time it's going to be an athlete or some type of music artist that they're looking up to and you know they're seeing just only glimpses of what that person's character is like,
Yeah.
but a lot of times like that's what they see that glimpse and they're like I want to be like that person.
For sure, definitely. Another question I want to get to kind of wrap this up, like we always try to ask the guests. I always try to ask the guests that I have on about like what's advice you would give to the next generation for if they want to start the work that you're doing one day. Like if there's a young person out there that wants to start a nonprofit organization one day, like what's some advice you'd give to them in terms of like being a part of one, maybe not even starting one, but just being a part of it and like really like buying in one day.
Yeah, I would first say like dream. Like if you're on the end of like you want to start it, like whether it's an organization, a business, like take some time to dream. This for me did not start just from like day one. I started dreaming about having a nonprofit at 16,
Mm,
and it took until I was 24.
wow.
So, you know, so dream. Take time to dream. Write down some of those things that you want to see, the people you want to serve, the people you want to help. I always knew that I wanted to come back and help the community that I was born and raised in that like plays such a huge part in my life. I lived in Atlanta for a while and then I moved back a few years ago.
Mm,
And so like that was like super important to me, but I took time dreaming before that ever could happen, before that became a reality.
yeah.
Additionally, like I would say like if there's something that you like want to get a part of, like if it's an organization, a church, like that you want to get a part of, like do it. Do not wait. Like you can be 12. You don't have to be 35 to be able to be a part of
Mm,
something. Like if you see a movement, get into it. Like ask the questions, how can you get a part? How can you serve? Like don't hold back and you know and if you're at the place of like wanting to start something like additionally which was something huge for me is like I had leaders and people in my life that I asked like just for their guidance and direction and wisdom as I was creating, so yeah.
But before I ask the last question, I have been to Atlanta several times. Why is
Okay.
the traffic so crazy?
It's
I
the
need I, I need to
worst.
know why is it so crazy? I
You
haven't been there in
know,
several years. It's crazy though. It's
it's
crazy.
pretty awful. It's a mixture of things. So it's a mixture of, people who are traveling through Atlanta and
Yeah.
like they drive so slow they don't understand. Um, and then like you have like there's so many people. Like I'm like, why do we keep building apartment complexes? Like we have like so many apartment complexes, we don't even have trees. Like it's
Yeah.
it's it's pretty bad. Like the traffic's pretty awful. But
It's
then you
crazy.
also have to like watch out for your life because people will
Yes.
run you over.
Oh yeah, that'd be
So
like, hey, you're gonna learn today. You're gonna learn
yeah,
today.
yeah.
But last question I want to wrap up with, and this is something I want to implement. If there is one person, dead or alive, that you would love to have a dinner with, that you would just love to have a like, hour long, 2 hour long dinner with, who would it be?
Wow, that's a wonderful question. I would definitely say, oh, I would say Martin Luther King,
That's awesome.
Jr. Like, I feel like we could have some good conversations.
Absolutely. Well, Christian, thank you so much for being on this Life Lessons interview. And also just tell people how they can follow your work if they want to see what you do and just any ways that they can get plugged in.
Yes, follow us at the Pack PACK Youth Inc. We're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all the above.
All right. Well, that wraps it up for tonight. I'm your host, Wellington Burns. This has been Wellington's Y Zone. See you next time.